Hi there, Chris Klein again, Director of Butterfly Ridge Butterfly Conservation Center, here from chilly southeast Ohio. I had to break out the sock cap for today. Our building, our nature center here, when we built it, we didn't put heat in it because we weren't expecting to do things in the wintertime. And so that's why I gotta get bundled up to do our videos here. What I would like to talk about today, I believe this is episode 5 now, I want to say. What I want to talk about today is monarchs and milkweed. And monarchs have been in the news a lot because of the population decline of monarchs. The news out of California here around Thanksgiving was fairly bleak as far as the population, the western population of monarchs. Of course, we won't find out about the eastern population until probably February or March of 2019. But once again, as you're planning your gardening for next year, your landscaping, now's the time to be thinking about this stuff. And I've been playing with monarchs for a long time. I know my name's probably not as recognized in the monarch world as a Lincoln Brower or a Chip Taylor, but I started tagging monarchs, I guess, it's probably about 1997 when I lived in Indiana, and actually wrote a peer-reviewed scientific paper entitled the Status of Danaus plexippus in Arizona. Co-wrote that with a couple friends. I think that came out in 2015 in the Journal of the Lepidopterist Society. And so I'm relatively familiar with both the western and the eastern population of monarchs. And so I wanted to talk a little bit, like I said, about monarchs, and a little bit about milkweed, because milkweed's kind of become all the rage to talk about as far as, us nature nerds are concerned. And I know a lot of people here in the Midwest are just raving about one particular milkweed. It's actually an annual milkweed. It's an introduction. It's an exotic species. It's called Asclepias curasavica, also known as blood milkweed or tropical milkweed. If you go to Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot to their garden section, that is most likely the milkweed that they're going to have. And monarchs will feed on it. Okay, butterflies will nectar on the flowers. Here a few years ago, there was some bad press that came out about tropical milkweed, talking about how it harbors this, it's a parasite that we typically call OE because the real name of it's about yay long, and how this tropical milkweed actually harbors this parasite. Well, if you read the fine print in that journal article, that's typically a problem in hot, humid climates, climates where in the wintertime the plant may not die back. It may be more like a perennial. So in the deep south of the United States, that might be an issue. It's not an issue in the Midwest. It's not an issue in the desert Southwest because it's too dry there. But the way I look at it, while tropical milkweed may not be the bad guy that everybody thinks it is, the way I look at it is, why would you plant it anyways? Okay. A, it's not a native. B, it's an annual, so you're going to have to horse around with it every single year. And of course, my philosophy is I'll plant you one time and I'm done. So why mess around with tropical milkweed when you have so many good quality native perennial milkweeds that you can pick from? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those milkweeds today. And here at Butterfly Ridge, we have we actually have four naturally occurring milkweeds on the site, and then we have introduced 5 others that are in fact native to Southeast Ohio. They just weren't native to our particular site. And so I want to talk about some of those. And so my first one, for example, is Asclepias syriaca, and that is the common milkweed. And a lot of folks have bad thoughts about common milkweed. You know, it's a weed, it's an invader. Well, a lot of people don't realize, you know, I had a guy at a garden club once tell me about how common milkweed is this horrible invader. And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, you know what the most invasive plant in your yard is?" And he goes, "Well, what's that?" And I said, "Your lawn. And you nurture it and you fertilize it and you spray it and you take care of it. And that's the most invasive thing in your yard." So the milkweed A is native, so it can't be invasive. B, it's nothing compared to your lawn as far as spreading. The reason common milkweed gets that reputation is because it spreads underground by the roots, which very, very few milkweeds do. And so that's how it gets that reputation of being invasive. But once again, I mean, it's a native, so how can it be invasive? Monarchs like to use it as a caterpillar host plant. Butterflies, moths, all kinds of pollinators use the flowers as a nectar and a food source. So, I mean, it's a really, really great plant to benefit your pollinators. Another really solid plant to benefit your pollinators is Asclepias tuberosa, also known as butterfly weed. Now, while the common milkweed, while it's actually quite variable in where it likes to grow, I mean, it'll grow in partial shade, it'll grow in full sun, wet soil, medium moisture. The butterfly weed is a little bit more picky. It prefers actually kind of dry ridge tops out in the full sun. Once again, phenomenal plant for both nectar and as a caterpillar host. Keep in mind the caterpillars, they tend to like to eat the flowers. Okay, the leaves of butterfly weed are real hairy, and so the caterpillars tend to like to stay away from the leaves to a degree. They would prefer the flowers over the leaves. But once again, like I said, for a dry sunny spot, I mean, you can't go wrong with tuberosa. And once again, it's an excellent nectar plant for all kinds of pollinators. Another milkweed that's quite popular in the nursery trade, I kind of have mixed feelings about it, and that's swamp milkweed, Asclepias incarnata. The monarchs will definitely use it as a caterpillar host plant. What I have found is, just as a general nectar plant for pollinators, it's not really anything to write home about. Swamp milkweed, in my mind, kind of falls into that peanut butter and jelly category, you know. Whereas common milkweed and butterfly weed are definitely in the blizzard category. Here at Butterfly Ridge, once again, I mean, last year the monarchs were just profusely laying eggs on the swamp milkweed. However, I don't think I got a single picture of a butterfly nectaring on the swamp milkweed. So, and of course, as the name implies, it kind of likes a little bit damper soil. Once again, still as much sun as you can give it, but a little bit damper on the soil moisture side. Another milkweed that is actually one of my favorites, very few people know about it, you're probably not going to find it in the nursery trade, and that is Asclepias purpurascens, purple milkweed. It grows relatively common along the highways and roadways here in Southeast Ohio. Let's see, Ohio Route 328 south out of New Plymouth has some real nice purple milkweed growing along it. State Route 56 right around the Athens and Benton County line has some purple milkweed there. I've never found monarch caterpillars on it, okay, but as far as butterflies, other pollinators using the flowers for nectar, I'll be honest, you're not going to find anything better than purple milkweed. One of my favorite photos of all time is a shot of the inflorescence of purple milkweed, and there's like 5 different pollinator groups on this one flower head. I mean, it gets your attention, you know. So that's purple milkweed, Asclepias purpurascens. Another milkweed that you're probably not going to find in the nursery trade, except for maybe a couple native plant nurseries that I've actually given seed to. I think Scioto Gardens, they're in Delaware, might carry this next one. Natives in Harmony up in Marengo might have it. I've given Mike and Linda and Gail seed from what's called poke milkweed, and that's Asclepias exaltata. Okay, not to be confused with pokeweed. Okay, that's a different thing altogether. I'm talking about poke milkweed. And it is one of the few milkweeds that is shade tolerant. In fact, it prefers partial shade. Soil moisture, you know, anywhere from dry to medium it's fine with that. You don't get a lot of butterflies nectaring on the flowers, but you do. It's really good for bees, and the monarchs will use it as a caterpillar host plant. And in fact, our patch of poke milkweed that we've planted in our clearing up by the treehouse this past summer of 2018, I think we picked probably 15 or 20 monarch caterpillars off of our poke milkweed up there. And so it serves a good purpose as a host plant, and then also as a nectar plant for pollinators other than butterflies. So we're real high on the poke milkweed. And then the final milkweed I want to talk about is Asclepias verticillata. It's also known as world milkweed. And in talking once with Mike Johnson up there at Scioto Gardens, and they carry several different kinds of milkweeds that they sell. And among them, at least historically among them, has been this world milkweed, Asclepias verticillata. And Mike one day was telling me that is the milkweed. Of all the different milkweeds that they grow, that is the one that he is most often having to pick caterpillars off of. So the Asclepias verticillata, the world milkweed, I think definitely has good potential to be beneficial to pollinators and monarchs in specific. It's kind of tricky to find. Like I said, I know Mike and Linda, they're at Scioto Gardens. They've carried it in the past. Where we got it, we ordered seed. In all honesty, I can't remember who we got the seed from. It would have been either Roundstone seed in Kentucky, or it would have been Prairie Moon. And so that's how we got our population started here. And I mean, last year was its first full year, and it did fine and flowered and set pods. We collected a few of those pods. I don't think I have enough seed really of that one to share, because we're going to try to get some more of that started in our prairie. But once again, a very good choice. But once again, when you're thinking about milkweed to incorporate into your home landscape to try to benefit the monarchs, there's lots of different options out there. Just don't pigeonhole yourself into the tropical milkweed. When we have so many really good native perennial milkweeds that will serve the purpose. Now, I've heard people say, but you deadhead the tropical milkweed and it'll bloom the entire season. Well, that's why you plant other kinds of perennials as well. Okay, so you can have nectar throughout the season. Don't rely on a single plant to be your sole nectar source in your home landscape. Let the Joe Pye help, and let the cardinal flower help, and let the mist flower help, and let the downy wood mint help, and let the colic root help. Okay, that's why you plant lots of different things, not just one. We've got to get beyond this whole monoculture concept that we have in our minds here in America. So I hope this gives you some ideas as far as using milkweed in your home landscape. We will be back next week, next Monday. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Wishing you a Happy New Year. And the next time I see you, I guess it'll be 2019. So we'll see you then. Bye.